Welcome into the Grace Point Daily podcast. My name is Jeremiah Johnson. Thank you for joining us. This is season number 2. We are finally here. Who's excited? That's not really a live studio audience, but man, I'm so excited. You guys hung with us for 100 episodes of the Grace Point Daily podcast, season 1. And now here we are in season number 2. And we have more great content coming up for you guys, so that I hope you will just join us along the way. Like, share, subscribe to it, get that dialed into whatever app you're listening to in terms of podcasting, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is. You can find the Grace Point Daily podcast anywhere in the entire world. So join the team, man. Join the Grace Point Daily podcast and listen to it. We try to come out 3 times a week with different things. We have verse by verse. We have real life stories. We have a bunch of stuff coming up. We're going to add a few new wrinkles, a few new layers as well, season number 2. So we're excited to dive into that. And so one of the things that you guys really liked was the real life stories. We looked at our analytics and what you guys liked, what you guys listened to the most. And one of the things that we found that you guys loved was the real life stories, the stories of people. And that is awesome. Isn't it awesome to hear the stories of how God changes the lives of people? I know He's changed my life, and I love to tell my story, and I love to hear the stories of other people. So today, we're going to kick off season 2 with a real life story, and we are going to welcome special guest Heather with us today. What's up, Heather?
Hey, how are you?
And you got to tell us your last name, because I was thinking it was kind of a different last name, but now it's a more complicated one. I haven't memorized it yet. So
Monstwillow.
Monstwillow. Monstwillow. I need to just say it 100 times. If you ever meet another
one, they're probably related to me.
Yeah, cool. So Heather, round of applause for you. Thank you for being on the Grace Point Daily podcast. And we are going to dive into your story. I know that you have been a part of Grace Point here just kind of in the recent past here, and seeing you chasing God and watching God work in your heart and your life. And that's powerful and it's amazing, but it's always awesome when we get to know someone. It's like this for me. Sometimes I meet someone and you just think they're normal and perfect. And then you realize, whoa, you were messed up, man. You got a story, you went through some crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you went through some of that as well. So let's dive in today. Let's dive into your story, the story of Heather Monstwillow. I got to memorize that. I'm so sorry.
Good.
So tell us about your story.
Well, where should I start?
Let's start from chapter 1, the beginning.
Chapter 1. Okay. Well, as a baby, I was baptized Catholic.
Okay.
So as far as God goes, I feel like God has always been in my life. I never really had a down on my knees, save me moment. But I did get baptized.
Okay.
So
are you a Missouri girl? Did you grow up in this area or what?
No, I was born near Chicago.
Okay.
Oaklawn, Illinois.
Got it. All right.
Yes.
Midwest gal. That's awesome.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. So I don't know. My mother and my father were never married. But I'd had an awesome stepdad since I was 4 years old. He was a drill sergeant in the Army, and he's a paramedic and a history teacher, a real go-getter. As far as going to church and stuff, I just kind of did that on my own, even as a little girl.
Okay. Would you go to the Catholic church growing up then? Is that the church you go to, or?
No, I would just kind of make my way towards the church all the time. I don't know, just kind of gravitated towards church and Bible stories and whatnot. But anyways.
Okay. Were you in an urban environment? Was that like inner city Chicago or was
suburbs.
it like a very busy urban type place?
Suburbs of Chicago, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a pretty average childhood, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you really had, it's similar to me in that you were baptized in Catholic church. I was as well. You kind of had a knowledge of God or a recognition of God. And I think, one of the things that I tell people over and over again as a pastor is we were created by God. So there are instinctive things inside of us that long for God, even if we don't have God, right?
Absolutely.
We can go back in our story maybe I didn't grow up in church singing songs and Sunday school stories, but yet I can look back in my path and realize there was a searching, I wanted God.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't know that was God, but everything inside of me wanted God.
Yeah.
I just had to get to that moment. So you grew up with your mom and your stepdad?
Yes.
primarily?
Yes.
And now he was a military guy, so did you move a lot then, or you just stayed in the same spot?
No, actually, at the time he was not in the military, but he was an ex-drill sergeant. So, but he brought all those ethics and whatnot to the house.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. Very disciplined.
Okay.
Not too harsh, not too light. Just pretty much just right.
But that was your dad. He was like your dad?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Had a good connection with him and everything?
Yeah.
What was life like as a little kid then?
Pretty average.
Yeah.
I was like always a tomboy, digging in the dirt.
Okay.
I have brothers. I have one brother that I lived with and grew up with. So, but I'm the big sister.
Okay.
And just pretty average, really.
Okay. Were you smart? What were like?
Yeah. School came easily for
Okay.
me. Yeah.
So and we're setting this all up because
Okay.
we're gonna get in a minute here to like your messed up life.
Yeah.
And so if you're normal, like you're good in school, it's like, how do we get to these points in life? So
exactly.
so obviously as a kid, things are fine. You don't have any like crazy life altering experiences,
I
etc.
wanted to be a lawyer. Yeah.
Okay.
Big dreams.
You can still be one.
Yes.
You still gonna be one? What do you want to be
Well,
when you grow up?
yeah, I don't want to grow up. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Do you still want to be a lawyer? You think
No.
that's what God has for you?
No.
Okay. But that was your desire as a
Yes.
kid. Okay. So you're a kid, you want to be a lawyer, you're doing good in school and those kind of things. What happens when you get to that junior high, you start to get to this
Well,
entering woman stage?
Well, I guess my mom drank a lot and just kind of, they had friends and they would drink and stuff. So I guess that was like, some sort of a lifestyle. And so I started drinking a little bit.
Okay.
She actually tried alcohol with me when I was 11.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we before we hopped on, hit the record button, you were talking about your first time doing drugs was at age 11. So what did you do first? You said, did you do marijuana or alcohol first?
It was kind of around really the same time. Yeah.
Okay. So was your mom doing alcohol and was she doing marijuana and drugs of that nature?
Just alcohol.
Just alcohol.
Yes.
Okay. And so what did you think of that as a little girl? Did it look fascinating? Did it look exciting? Or can you go back in your mind to that moment and be like, oh man, I thought that looked so cool. I really wanted to do that. Or what were you thinking as a little kid?
Just curiosity.
Curiosity.
Really. Yeah.
And now your mom gave you some, or cause I can remember sneaking it. I can remember being like, oh man, we got to get a hold of it. We got to try some.
Yeah. Doing something you're not supposed to be doing, I guess.
Yeah.
Just
So your
that
first drink of
whole thing.
alcohol, was it like sneaking into mom's closet, the refrigerator? Was it mom? I know I have friends. I can remember parents, hey, just try a little drink here.
Yeah, it was kind of like that.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And what do you remember what that was? It disgusting?
Well, I had one wine cooler, and I do remember getting drunk, and at 11.
At 11?
Yeah,
Wow.
I couldn't picture me doing that with my child, and
Yeah.
just I don't know.
That's what's crazy now, right? Now that we're adults, is
Yeah.
to think back of like a little kid. I mean, I think of some of the things that I did. I was probably more around 15 in that ballpark. But to think of 11-year-old girl getting smashed, like that's not normal.
Yeah,
That
right.
shouldn't be normal, right?
Right.
But you did.
Yeah.
And did you feel at that moment, did that like release something, or did it create a desire, or?
Not really, but I don't know. I don't know why she did that.
Yeah. And did you start doing that on a regular basis then, or was it very sporadic at the start?
No, not really, but it did, I guess, open up a door to kind of just into that lifestyle, because then I started trying cigarettes, and it just kind of escalated from there.
Yeah. And we talk, I mean, we're going to get into this a little deeper, but we talk about today that, sometimes smoking, drinking, that they're gateway drugs, if you will, or gateways into other things. You agree with that?
Yes.
Right. I mean, a lot of people say no, right? They're like, oh no, don't say that.
Denial.
But it's true. It opens up the door, because that stuff, because here's ultimately the spiritual point, is that stuff doesn't satisfy.
Yeah.
So you either have to have more of that, or you have to add more and more things.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part of Jesus. You don't have to add anything else to
Absolutely.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Like
amen.
he's enough.
Yeah.
He's sufficient. So anyway, that's the goal of we're talking this podcast is like, we all need Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So, so you start drinking, and then did that increase like in junior high, high school, or?
Yes.
Well, then-
I was still good at school. Just came
Yeah.
naturally.
Okay. You didn't become like a raging alcoholic that stopped going to school or something
Okay,
like that.
I would say at 14, I did start to get like the friends. I still have these friends today, but
Okay.
at 14, I got arrested for underage drinking. My mom left us at home, and we were getting rowdy, and the cops came, and I got arrested, and that was the first time I got arrested, and that's actually my first job comes in because I had a fine to pay. And my mom said, "Well, I'm not paying for this.
Okay.
You have to pay for this." So that enters my work ethic there.
How much did you have to pay?
$200.
$200.
Yes.
That's overwhelming as a 14-year-old,
Yes.
right? You're like, that's a lot of hours at McDonald's or
Yes.
wherever.
Yes.
What were you freaked out when you got arrested? What? So it was neighbors that called the cops because you're getting crazy, and
Yeah.
were you freaked out? I mean, because did you have the handcuffs slapped on you and everything, or
Yeah.
what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you think? Were you like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm getting arrested?
Not really, but I guess that's when the rebellion set in a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what'd you do? Did you go to jail for like a few hours a night, or what?
Well, actually, yeah. I went to the police station, and my mom had to come pick me up.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah.
Check in, check you out kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And was that a defining moment? Was that a moment where you just mentioned rebellion? Was that kind of now where rebellion begins to entrench itself in your life?
I guess I'd say so. Yes.
Okay. So a rebellion against what? Your parents?
At that time, my mom and my stepdad had got a divorce, so I'm pretty sure that, looking back now, I'm pretty sure that's kind of what set it off.
Okay. That makes a difference, doesn't it? I mean, that those are things, and the reason those are defining moments is because they're not God's will. There's not God's intention for us. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, not only do your decisions affect you, but no matter what amount of influence you think you have or you don't have, you are affecting a lot of people.
Yeah.
By what you do. Yeah. So rebellion begins to entrench itself. 14, so now you're like 8th, 9th grade, something like that.
Yes.
What's the goal in life now? Is it like, is being a lawyer, is that all faded into distance, and now you just want to party and have fun?
Yeah.
And you had friends, and I mean, there's a lot of layers here, that things that you're saying, which we know, but we forget. Number one, it's the gateway. It's when we expose ourselves to whether it be alcohol, marijuana, and then the other thing of some life circumstances or situation with our parents. And then you bring up another one, which we talk about all the time, is the power of our friends, who we put in our life. That's so huge.
Yeah.
So you had bad friends, obviously.
Well,
Maybe not bad friends, but friends that were doing bad things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Were they more, were they on a different level than you? Were they into drugs more than you? Were they drinking more than you, or?
I don't know. We just we're still friends, really.
Okay.
But I guess just curiosity, and their parents were a little bit the same.
Yeah. That's why I'm like a huge guy, and like, for our children and for teenagers, like you just brought up a great word, curiosity, because that's what we are. And that point of life, like I tell people, okay, like I had sex, I drank alcohol, which is a drug, right? So I guess I can say I did drugs, right? But like I was curious, and I was trying to find something to fill that void inside of me, that curiosity. And that's why I'm always talking about, like, we need to expose our kids to the presence of Jesus.
Yeah, in the home, if the parents aren't talking to it and telling them about it, they're not going to know unless,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to know unless somebody tells you, or,
we instinctively, we're going to chase after something like in our life. And if we don't know what we're supposed to chase after, all we have is what the world presents us, like that's all we have. Like, so then we're like, oh, okay, well, the world says like, hey, drink. The world says do drugs. The world says, And that's what we do, right? I mean, it's today we talked a lot about sexual identity. Like I've never personally, okay, I'll use this example. I've never personally struggled with homosexuality, right? I've never had that struggle before. But I look at now like just the layers and levels of sexual identity and all the confusion regarding that. And I'm like, well, man, if I was a high schooler today, I would probably be curious, like you just said, about all this stuff. And maybe I would dive into that. Maybe I would experiment with that, right? Because I'm curious.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that guiding force or those people in your life that are pushing you to Jesus, you're going to go the other direction.
Yeah.
Where was God in the midst of that? Did you ever think about God? You're a high schooler, you're doing drugs, you're rebellious.
I was always more of like just a spiritual person.
Okay.
I never really gave credit to Jesus, or I knew the story of Jesus and stories in the Bible, but I never really praised Jesus and gave him the glory that he deserves. And but I've always been a spiritual person.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a hunger inside there that whole time. Did you ever have any conversations with friends, like in the midst of parties or about God, Jesus, any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the whole adolescent does God exist debates, and
Okay.
I really tried to stay out of politics and religion because it kind of led nowhere. Yeah.
Right. I mean, a story, like we're just interacting here, is that story I had when I was in high school. I remember I went out and partied and we were coming back home late at night. And I don't know why in my brain I was like, man, I wonder if I died right now, like if I'd go to heaven or hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can remember thinking about that.
Yeah. That's a deep question.
And kind of being like freaked out about it a little bit, like, because I knew I wasn't right with God. I knew I didn't really have a relationship with God or any of those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, there's that dark side of the curiosity. Like we would go to cemeteries and whatnot.
Okay.
And my friend was big into witchcraft.
Wow.
So, yeah. So we kind of explored a little bit with that, but
Okay.
But just a spiritual person.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? If you don't
Not like devil worshiping or anything.
Right.
Like that,
Right. But people are hungry for the Lord though. I think sometimes people think that if you talk to them about, here's what I think you would totally agree with, is I think today that people are opposed to religion, but they're not opposed to Jesus.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like they see religion, they see like church and, this religious structure. And that's very like that does turn you off, right? I mean, it's like just going to church and doing religious stuff. That's not really that exciting. But as you and I know, when like you experience the presence of